Not a planned live, so and I'm on the mobile YouTube app, so we'll see how this goes. I am in beautiful Durango, Colorado, and yeah, I'm hoping a few people join. This is as much for me though to get my thoughts together. Uh, if you guys are familiar with what I'm doing, hey Kevin Hawthorne, how are you, my friend? If you're familiar with what I'm doing, this is a beta test of going city to city, and I'm starting in my own state before my son goes to college in a month. After he goes to college, if all this goes as I'm hoping, should see me in other states too, especially states that are close to transparency law or willing to discuss it. So let me explain to you so far what has happened since I've been in Durango. Again, this isn't much for me. It's gonna be about 20 minutes because I don't know if you're Eastern time or Pacific or where you are. If you're in Mountain like me, right now here it is 1:26 p.m. on Friday, and I have an appointment at 1:30 with Doug Woodruff, who is the mayor pro temp for Durango. The mayor is Gilda Yazzie, and she is gone at the moment, but the mayor pro temp can handle this. There might be another person sitting in as well. And what I'm doing is I've come to Durango to explain to them, because, again, I'm in Colorado. This is beta test one in the southwestern corner of Durango, if you're not familiar with the landscape. Up from there, I'm on the Front Range, Denver. And then the other place that would maybe want to be hit, because Durango's Telluride, Durango, Pagosa Springs, Ouray, Montrose, just a lot of areas that combined into one. A lot of ski places too, down in this area. It's one of my favorite parts of not only the state but the country. Oh shit! Did I lose reception again? I should not have lost reception. Can somebody put a thumbs up if you're in there? I don't want to get into this if it's like yesterday again. Hold on. Oh. So wait, so gig wise, okay. Cool. We're good. It showed 0 people in here and 3 likes. And for a minute it showed people, and then as of yesterday we had that issue. But so here's what I have: a meeting with the mayor. And the reason is yes, are they in Colorado? Yes. Do they have to follow transparency law? Yes. That was a state, that wasn't a Denver municipal thing. That was a statewide law that was enacted for transparency for both the DNC and TNC. I was down here last night. I tested both. I even tested Rideshare, which I barely ever turn on. Okay. So I turned on DoorDash. I don't expect much from DoorDash. It performed better here than in my market. And I was able to, again, guys, I'm just doing this for the DoorDashers. Like Tim's in here, perfect example. He knows I don't prefer that as an app. I do Curry. Okay, so, but I do all the apps. But I turned on Dash last night. It said it was busy. It was busy. Durango has a population of 19,534 people. So it's not a big town. It's a mountain town. It sits about 25 miles north of or south of Purgatory, which is a great ski snowboard location. Silverton, which is where you can do helicopter drops, and then Telluride's about an hour and a half away. Pagosa Springs, the hot springs that way, are about 50 miles. There's just so much I could be to the 4 corners of Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico, where you can stand in all 4 states at once. I could be there in 1 hour from here. That's where I am geographically. But I'm still in the Colorado boundaries. The council here is going to have to be part of the removal of the metrics. So why I'm meeting with Dave Woodruff today in exactly 1 hour right now is because I want to explain to him, because again, it's like the Prop 22 thing. Only we don't have to go through that yet or anymore like a lot of states are gonna. We don't have to go through that because we shot that down and decided no Prop 22, we want the transparency. So those laws are in place. But the follow-up portion is removing the metrics. And we're trying to get that fast-tracked to A couple other changes go into the transparency laws that started this year go in on January 1st of 2026. We're trying to get the removal of metrics fast tracked in so that by January, all gig apps that want to operate in Colorado have to remove the metrics. I am here to explain to him how this works and the kind of luck we've had on the testing and the feedback that we're getting from drivers too, because the other way is looking like a very either a bad version of a worse version of Prop 22, or even steps farther where it's an allowance is the word that's been passed around a lot. An allowance of basically allowing a hybrid model union to step into a hybrid model gig app worker. This is a fail, just so you guys know. Fail across the board. We've looked into this and all the gig apps, and they're not lying, guys. I mean, like, they do. I can tell you when they lie. I've been in court with them. My podcast has been used on the Senate floor here in Colorado, but this is a lose the other way. So I'm here to show him, and we have statistical data that we can show that that it does well. See, gig-wise, you're getting into something that isn't really true. So yes, it is true in that example in California right now. They are already altering that, and they're actually already altering California's. In fact, California, one thing they did not do when negotiating all that, they did not put any language in there about how the pay would increase at all. It's just 120% of minimum wage, but you give the control of being able to, it's like, I hate DoorDash. I want them to pay me more. So I want this Prop 22. Okay, well, now they're in control of your active time. Now, for a while, people in California have been dirty stacking. If you know, you know. I'm not going to get into that. But have been like dirty stacking multiple platform orders, right? And they've been so you might be, let's say you're 30 minutes active on 3 platforms at the same time out of an hour, and then the other 30 minutes you're free. Technically, by Prop 22, you could be paid 3 half-hour increments during an hour from the different platforms. That is going to end. They've already beta tested, but September, what is the last day of September? We'll just call it November 1st because it's like September 30th or something. Argyle.io is taking over the data for all of the gig apps in California, and Argyle.io they're already working with the companies to be able to deactivate you if you're dirty stacking. You can be an independent contractor and work for Instacart or for Grubhub and Lyft and all these, but you can only do one job at a time. And if Argyle catches you, and Argyle is the #1 data solutions platform in this country, and the companies, the Flex Association in California is paying out the ear to have them do this. So what they're going to do is deactivate anybody who's on multiple apps. Like if you have a DoorDash order and you take an Uber Eats order, they're going to see that and they're going to deactivate you. There is even an extreme case of being able to prosecute. The reason but jumping back to what you said about Prop 22, yeah, of course it doesn't benefit rideshare drivers because it's 120% of active time in the city you live in, California. And I say that because California minimum wage ranges from $16 to $19.88. There's very few that are coming at the 19 end. Even in LA, most of LA area is 16, but San Francisco is 19.88. So if let's just call it 20, right? So 20% would be what? Another $4. So 20%, if we're calling it $20 an hour in San Francisco, the highest paid market, if we're calling it $20 an hour as minimum wage, 24 would be minimum wage for active time. So if you're doing rideshare and you're active for an hour, you're going to make more than $24. So gig-wise is right when he's saying in terms of rideshare, yeah, it's not a problem. It's really not in the mix. And the benefits that they get, this is why most people who even fought for Prop 22, many are fighting to have it revised, which was part of the deal that it can never be revised. So that's pushing another movement to have it removed. This all gets very convoluted and weird, but so yeah, a rideshare driver could never do that. Now let's take on the far opposite corner and said Instacart. Now I don't know what Instacart is like out in the Bay Area, even though when I was doing Para, we were doing a lot of merchandising, and that was like taking pictures of end of aisle in shopping in all the Safeways in the Bay Area for a 50-mile radius. We had all of them. We had like 1,100 stores. And what we were doing was we were able to offer supplemental income to Instacart drivers because we were able to say, hey, if you take a picture and do a count of these 4 shelves of tortillas, it was a Mexican tortilla company, so they only had like 3 items. If you just straighten it up, do a count, and take a picture, it took 5 minutes, you got paid $14. And you would just add it on to the Instacart orders that you did from there. So a lot of times people were making more in the 2 to 3 minute, 5 minute tops, taking the picture of the merchandising we were doing through ParaWorks than they were on the complete order they were there for Instacart. So it was helping them. But let's take Instacart in my example. So in Colorado, Instacart is $4, or it's what is it? $7 for, if it's a single order, it could be 100 items with no tip. That's an hour and a half to an hour 45 of my time, maybe up to 2 hours depending on where I'm having to travel or whatnot, for $7. That is not worth it in anybody's world. Now, if you take that same time and you apply it to California's Prop 22 in San Francisco, it wouldn't matter if there was a tip. It wouldn't matter what the base pay said or whatever, because if you worked a true 2 hours on one job, that's why I'm using this Instacart example. Because if you work 2 hours, the platform, and if there's no tip, the platform, Instacart, owes the driver $48. Does that make sense? $20 an hour plus the 120% is 24. Multiply that by the 2 hours, you have to be paid at least $24. And that has to come out of the company. We've had tons of thoughts, especially in the early parts, because Prop 22 has been in place since 2020, November of 2020. We've had lots of thoughts about, like, dude, they're definitely taking that out on other markets. Now we have proof that not only are they taking it out of other California markets and doing that juggle game that they often do behind the scenes, they are taking it out of, like, me. That's why I brought up the Denver example. So they're going to make sure that I am paid as horribly as I can be because of Prop 22. So realize also that Prop 22 was an allowance that the gig apps agreed on with the Flex Association, but it was based on okay, this is California. They weren't really thinking a lot of places would follow this stupid model. So, and it is stupid. I mean, I talk to people in California, some who say, no, I like it. But I mean, like, I could bring on, if somebody wanted to come on here and talk about why they love it, I'll bring on 3 people who work full-time in California market who absolutely hate it, and will explain why, and they're veterans. So maybe in the very beginning, like a honeymoon period, okay, maybe they saw some fake perks, but like we've seen through it all now, and it just doesn't work. But here's the problem too. Think of it. I know that California is a big, big, big portion of the GDP for this country, our gross domestic product. It's if it wasn't for that, we'd probably give California back. I mean, it would just be worthless because of all the problems they have. But because they bring in so much, the rest of the country, if you put and I want to stick to Instacart for a minute here, and maybe some of you don't relate to that, maybe you've never done it. Remember when Instacart was $12 minimum order, then it was 10, then it was 8, then it went to 7, then it could be 8. It didn't, even when it was, at least for my market, it can be 7, or it can be $8 for 2 orders. So they only add another $1 to 2 orders if they have them put together. So this is an example of fallout from California. And this is just one state doing Prop 22. So it's very important that we remember that the gig apps don't people need to remember that they will leave the state. I know we only have one example, but that's the only place that pushed them. I mean, Miami had a minute and they left for like a minute. Austin, Texas saw 3 startup rideshare companies. They saw 2 startup food companies who all had a drive and a passion and were having slight growth. And they decided to push that limit. And they kicked rideshare and food delivery platforms out of Austin for a year. It's the only market it's ever been tested. And I will say this to all of you. What happened at the end of that year? Was it A, the gig apps came back to Austin and said, please let us back in your market, please? Or were they just going about their business elsewhere? And did the city of Austin come back to the gig platforms and say, please come back? That's right, it was number 2. The city of Austin came to the gig apps on their hands and knees after telling them they didn't need them there, because even the startups that were like, this will be great without them around. It was a very weird statistic that was found out there. Without the giants around who do, and you got to remember this, a startup rideshare company or delivery company isn't even doing any advertising. So if you're thinking, well, yeah, but if Uber and Lyft are there doing advertising, what does that do? It puts it in your face every day that rideshare is available. And it allows little ads to be run in the same publications or whatever, showing your new startup. But what they found was 2 of the startups went out of business when the others left. All of the others that were in Austin, all were right on the verge of bankruptcy when they brought them back. I don't know how many are even left there now. The problem is they found that without the city perks, free rides that they give to voting and to seniors and advertising and all the money that the gig apps bring into the community, they found that it doesn't matter if we have a bunch of startups. They cannot do it. They don't have the marketing and budgeting plan to make anything happen. And it was a loss. We saw Minnesota threaten it. Minnesota's if you saw the piece with John Lopez and I won't go through that whole thing because I'm about to have to in how long? 37 minutes? No, 47 minutes. 47 minutes. But Prop 22 is kind of splintered by other markets. So if you were to take the top 10 biggest cities that do rideshare and food delivery in this country and make them all exactly Prop 22, every one of you would earn a minimal 30% less every week than you do right now if you didn't live in one of those cities. And if you did over time, again, I will be having a chat. I want to bring on some very smart veterans from California. I already know 2. I think I would bring on another one who is in our same boat, because it wouldn't be fair to bring on somebody who likes Prop 22. Maybe that's for a different time, because the people that I know would just explode it, and there would be no reason for the other person to even be there. Maybe I could have somebody who loves it on the podcast on a one-on-one with me. But as far as like a roundtable type setting goes, I want to do one of these very soon so that you guys can hear firsthand from drivers in California who all were like, this sounds great. Let's see what happens with it. And some of them lived through it for a little bit. Some saw through it right away. They all last year, for the first time ever, no matter who you are, you found out that in Health Marketplace, which runs from middle of November till New Year's Eve in every state, you can go to, your state's, I think it's just yourstatemarketplace.com, or you look up health insurance in your state for those of us that need to cover ourselves. And not only were they finding better deals than you can get through the Prop 22 thing, but they were finding this, like, let's say that, who can I use that's nationwide, that Blue Cross, okay? Blue Cross, let's say that, and it wasn't, but let's say that Blue Cross or one of their subsidiaries like Anthem, let's say that Blue Cross Anthem was the insurance that Uber and Lyft and all the gig apps were using to say, hey, look at this perk we're giving you under Prop 22. You're going to be able to get, if you do at least 30 hours of driving a week on our platform, you can get insurance for $50 or for $80 a month. Not only are people finding those same perks in Marketplace, they're finding the exact same plan. So let's say Uber has, because even Blue Cross Blue Shield Anthem has 10 plans. So let's say that we're like on the lowest grade plan that Uber's offering, and they're saying we can give it to you for $80. Remember, you'd have to pay like $150 without us. Back in the day, sure, but right now everybody I know was able to find approximately 75% the same exact plan. Oh, look, here's that bottom tier Blue Cross Blue Shield Anthem plan through Marketplace for 75% of the cost that Uber's giving it to me for if I work 30 hours a week on their platform and telling me it's a perk. It's not a perk. But you do have to get your insurance during Marketplace. It's open enrollment from middle of November to end of December in every state. It's also, a lot of people might remember the term Obamacare. It still is. I mean, so let's just keep calling it anything that you recognize it as. But that health insurance is available to you for cheaper. It's just a gimmick, and I think that anybody who's worked a gig app ever in their lives is very familiar with gimmicks, and you probably already understand where I'm going with this. So the health insurance is a joke. We have a national movement right now working on portable benefits, led by Bill Cassidy out of Louisiana, Rand Paul, and Tim Scott. And they're very close to being able to push these portable benefits and have some other things happen. Hey, Gig Union. I appreciate you stopping by. I will absolutely get into the Illinois legislation. If you have not seen the piece I did earlier this week, I'm on the road right now in Durango, so I'm specifically talking about Colorado today. But on this channel, I talk about that stuff all the time. But I was just using the comparison to Prop 22 because nobody wants Prop 22. I've said that the most perfect way I've said it, I think, as of recent, is very simply put, lawmaker, your state senators, your state House Assembly members, whatever you have, those are the best people to approach, not the federal level people. I know people who the best approach is for the federal level because they're taking them on and they're people I work with. But even for me, state level stuff is best because that's who makes the decisions and who is accountable to the communities. Like I'm speaking to the mayor pro temp here, if you're just joining, in 42 minutes in this building in Durango to talk to her about removing the metrics because we need to solidify this county and we need to solidify up in Steamboat. So I brought a bunch of information for her. And again, just to real quickly get it out of the way, I got here last night. I was able to dash now. And again, Colorado, this wouldn't have been the case any other time in Durango, but Colorado, I was able to schedule half-hour blocks. Bring it up. I was able to schedule, so this is arriving last night. I was able to schedule, let's see, because of my meeting today, it looks like 3:30 is around my first. So I have 4 blocks scheduled, 3:30 to 4, 4:30 to 5, 5:30 to 6, 6:30 to 7. And tomorrow I was able to schedule, and this is again in Durango, from 11:30 to 12, half-hour increments and a half-hour off, all the way up to 8. I don't know what I'll do with them. I'm just saying, because we have transparency, top dasher does not matter anymore. I am not a top dasher. I am able to schedule a Friday shift the night before. And when I told you population 19,000, you got to realize this is a winter destination, but as much as so as it's a summer destination. There's river rafting here, kayaking. Los Lobos is playing for free in the park here tonight. Whether you like them or not, I'm just pointing out some things that there's always festivals going on in this little mountain town. It's amazing. So there's tons of people. There's half of the downtown, or a third of downtown, is old historic or new hotels. So talks to you about who's in here. So there's actually a nice little chance to make, decent money off a single zone. That's the only zone for Durango. That's it. And even right now, it's a dash now. But again, population 19,534. I'm underneath that's underneath 20,000 people. This is a city. I've never lived in a city this small. So I'm trying to put a little. Some of you do. I don't. So I never have. I'm very much looking forward to talking to this guy. I already talked to his assistant. They had no idea. They had no idea about what the metrics in the app were. And this is why I tell you guys, I will help you. I will help you. I have other people who will help you. We will help you get in touch. Gary Middleton is in Virginia right now. When he gets back to Oklahoma, he and I are approaching his legislator. So, we can do this. It's not that hard. I put in a lot of years of making connections, meeting people in the independent contractor field, freelance. I do some other things too, so it was a little easier for me, but nonetheless, a lot of it did come from the podcast. And a lot of you know these professionals. The best of the best at this stuff to be regulars on the podcast. They're not people you recognize from YouTube channels, but if you've seen them on my channel before, they're amazing. Kim Cavan testified, and I'm going to put the link after my meeting today. I'm going to put the link in a community post. She testified in front of Bernie Sanders, Rand Paul, Tim Scott, the U.S. Workforce Division in D.C. yesterday. She was one of 5 expert people that was speaking to them on why independent contractorship is so important. Now, she's speaking from a writer's perspective, but we've been melding together the people, because if 27 million of the 187 people working in the United States, if 27 million are full-time or part-time on gig apps alone, that means they need to be included in the independent contractor fight. Because when we use the 76 million people are freelancers, self-employed, independent contractors in this country. 76 million. 187 million are the total working population. And I say this because if you go back like even 15, 20 years, you will find that independent contractor, freelancer, self-employed number is around 25 million. So it has tripled. It has tripled in 10 years, but it's been around for 80. Guys, this is just where things are going. And we need to make sure that Prop 22 is not the only thing sitting on our lawmakers' desk, because if it is, and I've said this a lot, but I need to make sure that you guys get this. Remember that, like, if you're a state senator, okay, maybe you have 1, 2, 3 aides. Your aides are constantly just going through what's on the docket for the next floor meeting. So if there's going to be 60 issues raised, your aides are going through them, and they're giving you like is it Cliff Notes? Remember those from school, right? They're giving you the Cliff Note versions of their assessment, which they align with you usually, on what the situation is and what your vote should be based on your constituents. It's a math game. They literally take the constituents where they know the constituents stand on certain things, and then you vote for it that way. It sucks, but that is how it works. There are some issues outside that margin, though, like this one, where it's the constituents don't sit on either side because they don't know about it. They don't know that we're being faced with a fake union BS crap, or else there is this other alternative, because Prop 22 is the only thing on the desk. So when the aide goes to go, wait, okay, we've got this coming up tomorrow. What do we have for options? Here's Prop 22. Sounds good to me because it's the only thing here. That's why it's been very good as I've networked and got to meet people where it's like, no, wait, that's all you got? Here, check out transparency. It's free. It allows the companies to stay open, because I don't care what any of you say. I mean, I do. We have good relationship, good working rapport. But I will argue to the death, and I have enough evidence now. If you make these gig apps be W-2 or even the closest thing to a hybrid of it anymore, and again, remember, feathers are ruffled. Governments want their cut. People are now going, wait a minute, maybe we do want Prop 22 if it brings us money too, and it doesn't help the drivers. It's not going to bring you money, but there is a way. Transparency. Let's do this. Allow independent contractors. And it doesn't, the best pitch I have, like when I go into this meeting today, I have a whole thing of, and I've got my stuff documented. So I know how to skip forward if they're not interested in something I'm talking about. I've got like 7 talking points. The last one I end with is the actual comparison of a Prop 22 to transparency law when it comes down to fiscal. Now remember, on the second thing next to your constituents and what they want is how can you cut budget? Not, let's look at this and see what makes the most sense fiscally. If you can show them that there's a zero cost to the transparency side and it's not hurting anybody, so they're not hurting anybody. But if you can show them there's a zero cost, I mean, we even have some states that are interested parties willing to try it out for a year before making a decision with Prop 22, meaning they don't want to fully bring it in, but they'll try it. That's still better because they're going to find out during that time that, wait, this does work. It's not perfect, okay? But I would much rather be in Colorado with transparency law than in California begging for active time, especially once Argyle IO jumps in there and says, hey, all you dirty stackers, you're all deactivated. You've been stealing time. They're calling it, it's called wage theft is their term. They will be and it will be an Argyle thing. You will be deactivated with cause so that you don't even try and come back on. You will be deactivated with cause of however the terminology they come up for of dirty stacking within the terminology wage theft. And that's what they're calling it. And even in the TOSs, it does say you can't be doing other work while you're doing this because it's hotshot work. You need to get it done right away. Those of us in a lot of markets know we can dirty stack something or whatever. I don't. I know a lot of you do, and more power to you. We are independent contractors, used to have that, but I mean, food shouldn't be cold, this, that, the other. So there's a lot of defense on why that'll happen. Also realize part of the reason the gig app companies are spending this much money on this is because they are at a point now with, again, 27 million gig app workers, part-time or full-time, out of 184. That means if you line up, it's actually 7.5, but if you line up 8 random people or 10 groups of 8 random people in your city that you've never met, 1 out of every one of those groups of 8 does gig work. Mind-boggling. But we need to correct this because this is not a path that stops at a Prop 22 and goes, whoo, we're done. This is a union grab game. And I've heard some people, I've seen Torps made a couple great videos, love his videos when he does some. But there are some people who he was saying, Torp was saying something about how, like, well, yeah, because a lot of these W-2 peoples are union minded. Remember that a lot of W-2 peoples are not union minded. A lot of W-2s had W-2s without a union and still left. So those of you who had W-2s but have never been in a union, this lady cannot park to save her ass. For those of you who can't, who haven't been in a union but you've had W-2s, you have no idea what you're asking for if you're asking for a union. And I'm going to just say it that honestly. There's no two ways about it. So there's no other way to put it. You don't know what you're asking for. Because you're asking for a floor meets ceiling pay, no way to hustle, so the night shifts aren't worth more, dinner's not worth more, traffic's not worth more. So who's going to do the midnight rideshare shifts? Nobody. You're going to wait for it to surge or all this other crap, and it's going to make things actually worse. But on the other side too, Prop 22 it sucks, but it can't be replicated in every state anyway, because that has already been a conversation the companies have had. They'll leave. They'll leave. Why did DoorDash buy majorly failing Deliveroo? Okay? They bought them for a lot of money too. A shit ton of money. What was it? 600 or wait, no. What, $3 billion? They bought Deliveroo in the UK for $3 billion. DoorDash can't make a profit. So how'd they find $3 billion to buy Deliveroo, which is failing? A year before they bought them, Uber Eats looked at it, said, you're not worth what you say you are. And they offered them like half, couldn't make a deal and left. DoorDash paid more than the initial offer that, like when Uber and Deliveroo came to the table, Deliveroo's like, hey, buy it for this, and Uber's like, you're worth half that. And they still couldn't make it happen. DoorDash came, Deliveroo offered the same price, the first jumping point they did a year ago, and during that year, their performances fell even more, which would mean they're not even worth that, and they never were anyway. But DoorDash just outright bought it. Why'd they do that? Some of you might not know this, but in the off case that there is legislative battles where it's not over, but they choose, like DoorDash or whoever chooses not to operate in the United States until some of the solutions are solved. This is how many different things are going on, you guys. These are real things. I'm not just spitballing some ideas here. These are real things. This is why they're like, well, we would still have income coming through the UK. Yeah, it's not worth what we paid for it, but we need a diversification of a portfolio. In this space, the only diversification is to be global. And if you are, you can afford to lose any country, including the US. So those of you thinking, no. Yeah. Because like I was telling you about Austin, it failed. So what they do, they beg them to come back. So what will they do if 27 million people, whether it be full-time or part-time, 27 million people who rely on gig app-based income to live, now can't live? The full-timers, not at all. Part-timers, probably still same with them. They've now, because not like people are banking on it, they're just getting by. But you remove 27 million jobs, again, let's go back to the lineup of 8. That means, line up 10 groups of 8 people. One person from each of those groups now cannot work. And maybe that doesn't sound, maybe that's not the best representation. For me, it works. If you were to line up any 8 given people in any town, one of them, if gig apps leave, one of them just lost their job. And the worst part is we already saw it in California. AB5 was the real culprit. It killed careers. It killed livelihoods. I have talked about it at nauseum on this channel. So go look. You can go to my channel, go to my videos or lives, and just Google from YouTube Rideshare Rodeo AB5, and you will see the best experts on this. And it was a big cast net. There's still almost 2 million careers that people lost. You can't be a freelance writer. You can't be you can't be a sign language person. You can't be a rural rape nurse who is specifically trained in rape, because those have to be independent contractors from the hospital. So in rural, they can't, because the ability to be an independent contractor in California was ruined by AB5, they can no longer do that and be on an as-needed basis. So if the hospital wants to have that person who is specially trained, they have to put one on staff full-time. Well, in rural, they can't. It doesn't happen enough to justify the means. In the big cities, yes, they could probably put one on. Will they? I don't know. To me, it's a lot of these careers just get lost. It's like, oh, we don't need those anymore then. Really, you're just going to let some first year out of nursing school RN handle a rape kit? And I'm not dissing on the RN. She knows her stuff. But the people that I'm talking about are specifically trained niche of 2 extra years of emotional therapy, PTSD, and counseling, which no nurses are have, or they don't have to get certified. So I would guess very few do. But I mean, like, that's just one example. I'm just pointing out, like, there's 608 careers you cannot be in California anymore. And I'll list those. I have it. Karen Anderson has a blog roll. Do you know what the 608th one is? No joke. Does anybody know what it is? It's in alphabetical order. Give you just a few seconds because I got to get ready for this thing and I want to say hi to y'all. Anybody know? Okay. In alphabetical order, the 608 careers you can't be as an independent contractor in Colorado, and yes, it is one, is a YouTube creator. Do people in California still have YouTube channels? Yep. Will they be getting fines? Potentially, or they'll be paying excruciating dues. Like, let's say they make, let's just try and keep it easy. And I'm not kidding. It's kind of like a luxury tax. So let's say you make $100,000 on a YouTube channel a year. You now would have to pay your taxes, all of that, like you normally do, self-employment, all that. But you would have to pay an additional 25 to 30,000 of your earnings to get a single dismissive carve out there. So now you're talking about going back down to, well, I was making 110 grand. Now after everything, I'm only making 40. I was making 50 at my W-2. I moved to this because I understood I had a niche. So now I was making twice as much. Now I'm making less and all the stress is on me. I'll go back to a W-2. Here's the problem we learned in California. They demolished all those careers. They allowed Prop 22 to happen, to be a carve out for all gig apps. That's all it was a carve out to AB5. And how many jobs did they create? We've asked the panels, but we've challenged the best on the other side. AB5 legislation, one of the drafters, she was on the podcast. They created 0 jobs. So if you're that person who was like, yeah, I did really good in this field, now I'm stepping up to here. Now you can't be an independent contractor without all these dues and fees and this and this. And now you're like, wait, I'm going to make 35 grand. I was at 52 when I left the W-2 to be my own boss. It's more work, but it's more rewarding. But now I'm being paid 17,000 less and I'm going to have to work more for myself. I'll just go back to the W-2. There is no W-2 left. It's gone. There are no jobs. And I'll also say this, because this is going to be a topic coming up here very soon. Autonomous? What a joke. I say it all the time, but you guys, autonomous? Well, no, I'm running out of time. I have 22 minutes. Let's go through these comments that you guys got. Kevin Hawthorne, what's up? What's up, traveler? Don't tell me what to do. I just did. Kegwise, what's up? Is that Ghost? What's up, traveler? Gig Union. Yeah, I know you want to know about Illinois. Again, I didn't see if you typed in, but if you didn't see the piece with John Lopez and I have a few pieces on Illinois. I have ones with Lenny Sanchez from the IDG from years back, but I don't think that that's the route either. Lenny's a good friend of mine. But the John Lopez piece we just did is very interesting. It's very true, and it's something Illinois drivers should all be afraid of. Because there's 3 different options of the outcome. I don't like any of them. So we're trying to get something in there right now to get pushed. Prop 22 only benefits food drivers, not right. For no tip, low pay orders. Yeah, again, not true. You're subsidizing bad behavior. And again, tips are gone now. I mean, they're there, but the ability to tip in California isn't in the flow screen. It's after the driver delivers. The tips are pretty much dried up. I mean, I know most markets they are, but they were dried up a while ago. Yeah, Bud Soda. Well, the lucky thing there, Tim, is that Bud Soda wouldn't be caught dead living in California. Sorry, I left the light for a second button. Oh, live, maybe. Oh, okay. Gig hustlers are not even going to see that Prop 22, right? What do you mean? I mean, if your state stupidly passes it, yes. You are. You are. And again, always remember that Prop 22 was a false. It was set up. I mean, remember, all this happened during the pandemic. Gavin Newsom and Lorena Gonzalez in November or October of 2019 passed AB 5, destroying livelihoods, to go into effect January 1st. January 1st, it went into effect. Uber, Lyft, all of the other gig apps were notified that they couldn't have independent contractor drivers anymore. And they said, no problem, we'll vacate the state by the end of the month. It was after 11 p.m. Pacific time when the state caved to all of them because they were going to just close shop and leave. It was within an hour of the option in the window even being opened where the state said, okay, it would disrupt food delivery and people getting to work through rideshare and other things so much we don't even have a transit system that could make up for that amount. So we're going to have to allow them to put Prop 22 on the November ballot. So in November of 2020, when all of us voted, AB 5 it was already killing off everybody's career. But there was a partial exemption until then. Prop 22 passed by 60% in California. And if you guys are like, damn, the bluest state of all time, pretty damn left, passed this, and how bad could it be? Remember, the very rich people were the ones who kicked Prop 22 over the line because they were like, wait a minute, they're not the ones doing rideshare. They're like, wait a minute, you mean this bill would take away my ability to call a rideshare? Yeah, no, I'm not going to have that. So they voted for it, even if they're the bluest of people. I mean, it doesn't make sense, except for it does, but it doesn't if like how involved some California people are in the politics of things. That Prop 22 money. Yeah, no. I mean, no. And especially once they remove the dirty apping, because remember, Tim, like, perfect example. Look at your market. You used to do DoorDash. Now you hate DoorDash like I do or whatever. I'm here testing it, so I do it a little more than you. But you got to a point of hating DoorDash primarily because of oversaturation, which allowed them to drop prices beyond dramatically. When you have, I mean, we know how supply demand works. So, of course, they're putting out these crazy bad offers. So imagine, I guess my point is, who's the hustler? Because now, if you get a Prop 22, every dumbass and their mother is going to get on the platform and just milk it because it's 120% of minimum wage, and they're okay with that. Floor meets ceiling, meaning the hustle makes no difference, and you can just count on 120% of minimum wage in your hour. Some of you might be going, that sounds great, but please remember that you're using your car still. There's no company car. So that 20% that you're like, hey, that's 20% above minimum wage. Well, let's use 30 or 40, which is the amount you'd have to use your car to really benefit from gig work. You're going to be putting 30% of your income back into your vehicle. It might not be this year or next, so you might go, no, I'm not. But then something big might fall out, or you need a complete new car or whatever. The vehicle is always left off of people's expenditures because they don't see it tomorrow or the next month. But we can all attest, it doesn't matter what car you drive, how new it is or what. Listen, at some point, maintenance is gonna kick into, and as it goes down the line, even more and more and more. So those people just don't get simple economics. They see it as like, oh wait, instead of making, instead of making, let's just call it $10. Instead of making $10 an hour minimum wage, I can make 12. Yeah, but you're destroying your car. Just go work 10 somewhere. You're not going to get in an accident. You're not going to just go work 10 somewhere and get some benefits too. What are you doing? Don't wreck it for those of us that hustle, because those of us that hustle can draw tips in. And again, look at what they do. They make it tipping very hard because they don't want the people to feel like there's any need to tip anymore. Like, hey man, they're being paid great by Prop 22. Floor meets ceiling. Hey, y'all want to make $15 an hour? The reason being, my floor meets ceiling started in New York a while ago. Here's why. Because if enough people are making $7 an hour, like we always saw in the newspaper, I can't make more than $7 in New York. But then these hustlers are out working the midnight shifts, whatever, and they're making $50 an hour. all of a sudden, who subsidizes the $7 an hour up to the 15? Because if you think for a minute it's Uber, Lyft, or DoorDash, you are truly insane. Sorry, but you are. They subsidize that by taking it away from the drivers that earn. They pull the drivers up from the bottom by taking away from the drivers that are hustling. Is that fair? In my book, 100% yes, because we're independent contractors. There are such things as fishing holes, knowing where to be, plotting yourself, doing this for a year or two. Learn. If you already know all the streets in your city, great. But learning your market, learning where to position, that all is part of the game. You guys are not employees. You are self-employed. You took a decision to go, I don't want to work a W-2 anymore. I want to do this. So, you know what? I'm going to take a chance on myself. That's what you're doing, taking a chance on yourself. So now you want to demand a minimum wage? Wake up, people. Seriously. Wake up. Because I don't want the people who are just pissy dropping a grenade and everything from me. And that's why I'm here in Durango. And that's why I'm going in to talk to the mayor pro temp. And that's why we're going to get metrics kicked out. We already got Denver. We already got Colorado Springs. Fort Collins will follow what Boulder does. Boulder will do it. Boulder will stick with the transparency because they have a seat to lose. It's a long story. But then we got to grab these mountain towns too. At least, I mean, are they the biggest sectors of our voting? No. But we got to get their people understanding and on board. This way, when the Prop 22 moron team calls from California, this mayor pro temp can go, I just talked to somebody who left me a bunch of data. And yes, I'm leaving him a bunch of data. Left me a bunch of data. And we even have a 2-page talking point in the back of it that is, if you are approached by Prop 22 people, 7 questions to ask. And they are fail questions to the people trying to push Prop 22. It's not made up and they're going to get caught in not knowing. It's that they do know the answers and there is no answer because the answer is failure. So those are something that we're giving to these people as well. So I'm here now. Tomorrow is Saturday and I am meeting with 2 rideshare drivers and 3 delivery drivers for breakfast. One is from Pagosa. The other 4 are from Telluride or from Durango. And I'm trying to get the word out. I was going to try and stop at Telluride on the way out. But since I'm going to do a beta 2 and go up to Steamboat and some others, maybe I can make that in that loop, Vale, all those. But we already have some people who are full-time that I'm meeting with tomorrow. I'm going to give them the summary of what I learned here today. I'm going to tell them what we've been doing. I'm going to tell them to start getting that word out there to more people. I'm going to tell them to take private rides. I'm going to tell them what in Colorado is needed to be able to be your own business. Drop QR codes on the back of your seat. Hell, if you do Instacart, what are they? 2 feet by 1 foot magnetized slap-ons for your door saying, hey, I'm a personal shopper and I can beat your prices on any platform and I can do any restaurants or locations you want. I'm going to go through that dumpling idea with them. I'm going to be presenting them with ideas that are going to show them, hey, even while you're in the limbo waiting for, you love the transparency. We love it. When I do turn on later here today in Durango, I already tested it last night, full transparency like it should be in Colorado. Nothing can change. And again, let me at least say that too. If you haven't heard me say this before, Uber Eats, the people who say that, you can get tip baited, you can't in Colorado, because if you take a screenshot of the offer sent through to you, that's what you get paid. You don't even need to take the screenshot. I just do it just in case. But I haven't had it just in case. And I don't know anybody else who has either. So Uber can allow the customer to remove the tip. What they need to do is pay the driver the full amount though. So it's up to the company, and I agree with this because I've always said, listen, take away all the metrics, take away all of the fake tiers, take away your BS gamification, show complete transparency, and that's all you need to do. We don't need to involve money. Just don't have any kind of metrics on me. Let me take what I want. Let me don't take what I don't want. That's it, and show me everything. At that point, we are problem solved. So why do the gig app companies want to cover it up so bad? Because when they pay a rideshare driver $16 to take somebody to the airport, and they're charging the customer $78 or $88, and they're paying the driver $16. So you're paying, the services you're paying for are $16 to the driver, and you're going to pay $72 in fees to the dispatch company that should be taking approximately 10 to 15, maybe 20%. Wake up, people. This is the bullshit they want. The last thing I'll say about it, listen, if your state starts talking about Prop 22, let me know. I'll jump in with you, or we'll get into it hard. But listen, if a state starts saying, okay, we'll go with Prop 22, why is every gig app on the next plane there to sign it into place? Not even to fight it, just, okay, done, boop. Can't believe you fell for that. Don't we want them to be more like Colorado when they thought we were going to accept Prop 22? And then we got Stephanie and our Stephanie Vigil, and we got our Senator Kevin Priola to say, wait a minute, we've now talked about this. We're going to look at transparency. They said transparency. All of a sudden, all the gig apps were dumping in hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions, to fight transparency. Why the hell do you need to fight transparency? We're gig app workers. We're independent contractors by your own definition. Wake up, people. I'm willing to help everybody. Steve at ridesharerodeo.com. Hit me up. And I got to get in. I got 8 minutes. I mean, I'm right here. Wish me luck. There will be more while I'm in Durango. Peace, you guys. Have a great day. I saw Bobby in here too, but no, I can't find it. And Ron, Banksman. I'll have to go through these later, and maybe I'll address these first, because it looks like Lisa's in here. There's a lot of you guys in here. Kevin's in here. What's up, guys? I'll go back through these after it does the processing, so that I can see the live feed, and I'll address them. We'll be doing another live. I'll address them. But I'm here to fight. I'm here to talk to gig workers. I'm here to make sure that they know not to allow themselves to be exploited. So transparency is real. In Colorado, we see it. That's what it is. That's what you paid. It doesn't change. There's no plus minus. There's no advantage to the tiers. Even Dash Now, I'm not of that tier. I can Dash Now anytime I want. Like I said, I arrived in Durango, population 19,534 people. Last night was able to Dash Now, made money, and was able to schedule half-hour blocks like I do the entire day today and tomorrow. Come on. On a weekend when there's bands playing here and festivals going on, rafting, everything, every hotel's sold out. Come on, dude. Come on. Maybe I'll live stream from my friend's house. He's got this great house up on the mountains later. But you guys, that's it. I got to go in. Wish me luck. I'm gonna go crush it for us. But let's get, you guys email me. Hit me up. Leave comments in any video that you're watching. Maybe something strikes you in there and you're like, hey, wait, help me out. Really, you're not bothering me. But if you get Prop 22 in your state, don't say I didn't at least offer to help, because you're going to hate it. Okay? And you're definitely going to hate where it goes over time, because once you crack the door to legislation, you can't shut it. Once you crack that door to union, it swings off and then tears off the hinges within years, and the unions own you. And that's a fact. Peace, y'all.